Hey guys, this is Shane Davis from Youngstown State University here with Figure It Out Baseball. Today I'm going to bring to you another book review following up my review of Start With Why by Simon Sinek. Today we're going to focus more on a baseball-centric book. My idea with this series of videos is to give primarily the coaches but also players out there some ideas on books to read that may be a little bit off the beaten path of the typical, mental game of baseball, things like that, which are all great books, but I think there's some value in other books for guys that are inclined to read, especially college guys that, have 5, 6, 7, up to 10, 12-hour bus trips. Some are going to be long reads, some are going to be short reads. Today's kind of in the middle ground. It's about 300 pages. It's called The Phenomenon by Rick Ankiel with Tim Brown helping to ghostwrite it. The subtitle is Pressure, the Yips, and the Pitch That Changed My Life. Rick is somebody that, for guys around my age, mid-30s to mid-40s, probably played a fairly big role in your memories of professional baseball growing up. The thing I really like about this book is it goes into his history, upbringing, trials and tribulations growing up in Florida. But obviously the elephant in the room that you're waiting for is his development of the yips, which on the grandest stage in the playoffs, which ultimately took him out of baseball, and then he resurfaced a couple of years later as an outfielder. What I like about this is it's really, really truthful to what was going through his head and kind of that rabbit hole quicksand that he kept digging himself into trying to get out, and then finally touches on some of the mental techniques that he tried to implement in order to get himself back on the mound. Finally freed himself when he became an outfielder. Now, for me as a coach, if you coach long enough, you're going to encounter something similar to this. Not saying that there's any guidelines in here for dealing with it, but it is going to help give you a little bit of empathy and sympathy for guys that are going through similar things, whether it be the yips or just some sort of a performance hang-up, different anxieties that players deal with. Like I said, it's about 300 pages. It's a relatively quick read. It gets into some of his psyche, some of the things that he thinks helped contribute to it, as well as some of the things that he thinks helped him to get out. I think there's things that we could get out of this that maybe you can't just from, following all the mental game, sports psychologists, things like that, that are out there. And all of them are generally fantastic, but I think there's some value in, getting the experience from the horse's mouth. He pulls no punches in this story. Very true to the point. There is some vulgar language. It's a little bit more advanced in psychological reading, so I wouldn't recommend buying it for your 10 or 12-year-old, but probably for a high schooler that's fairly mature on up, it's a good book. The story's really good. It's a really neat story. He has a lot of good insight into kind of, like I said, that battle and that rabbit hole that he kept digging himself into, and, some of the psychological things that were happening to him behind the scenes, and how he ultimately, if not completely cured himself of it, how he ultimately got some semblance of peace and came to terms with his new reality once he began to experience it. Again, it's The Phenomenon by Rick Ankiel with Tim Brown, subtitled Pressure, the Yips, and the Pitch That Changed My Life. Again, I would recommend this to any coach out there just kind of to get a feel for it, because like I said, if you haven't experienced a player that goes through something similar to this, if you coach long enough, at some point you will. Thanks for joining me on this book review. Look forward to sharing some more quality reading with you. Once again, this is Shane Davis from Youngstown State University here with Figure It Out Baseball.